When you think of the word shonen, many shows come to mind. Big names being Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and the list goes on and on. Shonen has two types of opinions that generate throughout the anime community. Absolute adornment, or complete chastisement with claims like overused character tropes, the length, or lack of originality. I always felt shonen was a good thing though. Without it, some of us may not even be into anime shows now. In fact, Cartoon Network's Toonami was the frontrunner for shows to watch, like Dragon Ball Z, Gundam, and when the clock hit 5, you knew it was about to get real. But there has to be a show that separates us from our childhood haven into a shonen accessible to us today. There's one show that seems to surpass the critique, and a show hailed for its blend of originality and shonen elements. That show is Gintama. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ocean Planet. My name is WK, and today I'm going to be talking about Gintama. Let's dive in. The land of samurai. There was a time long ago when Japan was called that name. The dream-filled blue skies upon which the samurai once gazed are now filled with ships from a strange world. The towns where the samurai once proudly walked are now filled with swaggering, arrogant aliens. This is the world of Edo. This is the world of Gintama. And this is totally what the show isn't about. The story of Gintama really isn't as deep as the monologue may allude to. Gintama follows the adventures and misadventures of Gintoki Sakata, a samurai who works as a freelancer from his business Odd Jobs Gin. Most of the show is based on this really heavy comedic element, with parody being entwined in almost every episode. No show or event is spared in this hilarious spin on the old school Edo period. Shows like Evangelion, the famous cameraman in Japanese theater, even American culture, are just some of the few parodies that the show does, and does well, I might add. Gintama is one of the first shows I've seen in a long time that actually had me laughing so hard that I actually had to pause the video. It's not all comedy, however. When the show decides to throw in drama elements, it darkens the mood perfect enough that if it wants to, it can go back to comedy. Or it can dive deeper into the drama that has been foreseen. Gintama takes all the shonen elements, flips it on the head, and says, no, there can be a show that is shonen and compelling. It's almost like Family Guy with how it presents itself. But a show is nothing if the characters are bland and boring. Thankfully, that's not the case. The Odd Jobs crew consists of Gintoki, Shinpachi, and Kagura. Gintoki is the best example of a comedic character. He's a former samurai who, since the Yamato War, or the war with the aliens, no longer carries a sword, but a wooden one. But don't be dismayed. It's not Ichigo's giant Zanpakuto, but it may just be one of the most powerful swords of all time. Gin can give absolutely no shits at sometimes, always being lazy, and even indulging from the occasional Shonen Jump magazines. However, when either he or his friends are in trouble, he'll jump into action mode, with no holds barred, and he's giving his all. Shinpachi is what the show calls the straight man. He's the intervener, always being there whenever shit starts to hit the fan, and usually ends up at the short end of the stick. An otaku at heart, Shinpachi is the character who is always growing. He's not hopeless though. He can hold his own in a fight, and for the most part, Shinpachi is loyal to Gin and the Odd Jobs, even if they do fight among themselves. Kagura is an Amanto, and can be described as naive to a fault, but extremely strong-willed, and just strong in general. She says she hates violence, but violence only seems to be the way she likes to get things done. She's always in this playful mindset, almost annoyingly so. Not as a character to watch, but annoying to the Odd Jobs crew. She always gets into verbal arguments with Shinpachi and Gin, and wins the majority of them with her outward personality. She'll speak her mind, even if it's harsh, but ultimately is sweet, caring for the people she loves the most. There's a huge cast of characters like Otose, Catherine, Toshiro, Kondo, Okita, Katsura, and the list goes on and on. All of the characters get a fair amount of airtime, enough to get properly developed, with some of them even getting episodes or even arcs to themselves. One of my favorite characters of the show was Hasegawa, though being one of the supporting roles, shows up enough in the show that any scene with him on always got me excited and ready for a good laugh. Animation is one of those things that increasingly gets better as the show progresses. Its use of light colors really have this bright and warming feel, but it does accompany the scenes that it needs to. If it needs to get dark and gritty for a fight scene, the colors darken, or if the crew goes out to the snow, uses of white bring out the characters even better. It looks solid throughout, but gets better budgeted as the show goes on. I gotta give the credit to the artist for how original all the characters and all the settings look. For music, a lot of the backing tracks are really good, but gets recycled pretty heavily. Rightfully so though, because there are many episodes within this show. Like the animation, the music changes to the scene portrayed. Tight strings for fights and intense parts, or light flutes for summery days. I didn't really like any of the endings though, or the openings for that matter, except for two. But the two I do like, I really enjoy. Opening 1, Prey, really has a light, poppy feel to it, and prepares you for the episodes in the early part of the show. And opening 5, which is a slow to fast rock song with a great backdrop, heavy clouds, and more serious looking characters when the show decides to have more intensity. With most of the show being based on anime and Japanese pop culture, some jokes may end up flying over your head. The more versed you are in older anime that aired before or even with Gintama, the better off you are to enjoy some of the little comedic elements strung together with them. But you don't, I repeat, you don't need it to get an excellent and gut-busting laugh. When I first watched Gintama, I was weakly versed in Japanese culture and wasn't as deep into the anime community as I am now, and still had an absolute blast while watching Gintama. Be wary though, and tread lightly. If there are any old anime that you are waiting to watch, you may just have it spoiled. Gintama holds a special place in my heart. There was a time when I decided to watch the top recommended list on myanimelist.com. I blasted through Clannad and Steins Gate, but I kept putting Gintama off. I kept telling myself, I don't have it in me to watch that many episodes. But I couldn't shake it, and eventually I gave in and started it. From then on, it became a haven for me. Bad day at work, I had Gintama to brighten up the spirits. There would be days I would watch one episode, or binge watch 6 to 8 even after an exhausting day, and honestly, I'm sad that it was over. But no matter, there was plenty of OVAs and excellent movies that kept me coming back for more. With all that being said, Gintama gets an overall score of 9.5 out of 10, with the overall recommendation to watch and buy. Once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, keep swimming.